I, 44 male, have a daughter, Bella, teen, and a wife, 40. I divorced my ex-wife back when I was 36 and have been with my current wife, Jules, ever since I was 38. My ex-wife and I do split custody, so one week I have Bella, and the following week her mom gets her. Then we split the holidays in half. Well, one of the weeks my daughter comes over is the same weekend my wife has a weekend to herself. This happens twice a month. This is where she'll rent out a place, and then she'll have time to herself to clear her mind and just do her pretty much. I let her have her weekends because I'll go fishing or to the bar with my friends twice a month. I work from home, so being cooped up in the house is very draining, and my daughter hates being in the house all day. So when my wife leaves, often my daughter and I will spend the whole weekend doing activities or things that I wouldn't be able to do with my wife. So think mountain climbing, surfing, scuba diving, long walks, road trips, camping, amusement parks, etc. My wife knows what we do when she's gone. It's no secret. But we do have an unspoken rule that this is our time to ourselves, and we can't ask to go with that person on that weekend. So my wife hated it when we used to ask to come along, or when we would suggest a family trip before these rules were made. Bella calls it D&D weekend, and she always looks forward to it, so it's sort of sentimental. Sadly, my wife's trip to her hotel was canceled, and she's stuck in the house. My daughter has recently wanted to go to the Mall of America, which is a nice drive from where we are in Minnesota. She's been really excited to go because the last time we went, she was very young and had few memories. My wife overheard us talking about the hotel we would stay at for the weekend and suggested that we all go together. I told her about the long drive and how we were really planning to stay all day. I also explained that this is our daddy-daughter time, and Bella really looks forward to it. She said that it could still be D&D, but she'll just be there. I told her no, she couldn't go, and that's it. I said not once had she ever wanted to tag along with us before, nor had she ever invited us. She said that it's different, and her trips are to clear her mind. I told her that this was a sentimental thing for us, and maybe we could do it some other weekend, just not this one. Well, she's angry and is not talking to me. She said that I was being unfair and petty, but I don't think so. It's our weekend, and we have any other weekend to do whatever. I want my daughter to have memories before she gets old and I get older. So, am I the idiot? You just lost me at, my wife has a weekend to herself twice a month to rent out a place and just do her pretty much. I'm baffled or jealous, a bit of both. How does the wife's trip to a hotel get canceled? I'll tell you how. When the person she's meeting there can't make it. She definitely loves going to see her boyfriend. Hey now, let's not make assumptions. She might be going off to see her girlfriend. I totally get wanting a weekend or two to decompress. But if that's the point and OP isn't home, why can't she chill at home? Does she even like OP? I do need time for myself too, but I can't imagine going away from my partner 2 whole weekends a month just to be away from him? LOL? Agree. Going fishing or for a drink with friends is different than renting a place or getting a hotel all by yourself for a whole weekend, especially twice a month. The equivalent would be having a spa day or a night with her friends, or simply saying she'd like a night at home to take a bath or relax and do her own thing without you or anyone else disturbing her. I can't wait for the update on this one. Yep, such an interesting arrangement, and one I'd feel very uncomfortable with. Is your wife extremely wealthy or something? Renting a room for 52 days a year, or 78 days if she starts Friday, would be a ridiculous cost in my area. So your wife leaves to rent a room twice a month, so basically every fortnight, and your daughter also comes over every fortnight. Your wife is also adamant that there will be no family on her trips, so she doesn't mind going on a trip separately with your daughter and you. Very weird dynamics. Verdict: not the idiot, but this is some wonky stuff. Keep us updated. Mini update. I will be looking into my wife's weekend trips. Many of you have made the point that she could be having an affair. So far, she said that it was a mix-up with the booking. She didn't go into much detail about it, but the money was back in our account, so I didn't question it. Thank you all for your advice. I, female 36, have 4 children, male 22, female 21, female tween, and female toddler. My oldest children are married and recently had children. My son and my daughter-in-law have a baby, and my daughter and son-in-law have a toddler daughter, and she's currently pregnant. The problem lies when my son and daughter-in-law confronted me and my husband on why we're much closer to my daughter and her family. When my daughter gave birth, she wanted me in the delivery room with her, so I knew her firstborn since the day she was born, and my husband and I are obsessed with her. The exact opposite was for my son and daughter-in-law. They didn't even tell us their son was born until almost a week after. That was fine, since that was their choice. What made the boat trip was when my family would ask when we could meet the baby, and they told us we couldn't see the baby until he was older. This did confuse us, since her parents were able to meet him the same day he was born, but we didn't question it. So we didn't meet him until Mother's Day this year. My son and his family decided to visit with the baby. The baby was cute, and I tried to bond with her, but my daughter-in-law didn't even let us hold her. Anyway, I showed my son and his family around because my house has changed a lot since I last saw them. Everything was fine until they saw my daughter's children had a playroom/bedroom in my home. They asked if their son had a room in my house, and I said no, because this was the first time I had seen him in person. My daughter-in-law got upset and said that it didn't matter because I should be treating my grandchildren equally, and for the whole day, I've been showing my daughter's kids more attention. I then told her that my husband and I have been trying to bond with their kid, but we aren't even allowed to hold him, and that she was crazy to think he would have a room here when we probably aren't going to see him again until Christmas. She got upset and dragged my son and their kid out of the house. I thought everything was fine until on Facebook, I saw her making posts about bad grandmothers directed towards me, and I'm starting to feel bad. So, am I the idiot? Edit. In no way have I done anything to my son and daughter-in-law. My daughter-in-law and I were very close until they got married. She was over at my house almost every day while they were dating. I even took her in when she was having family issues, treated her like my very own when she and my son would break up. The only disagreement was when she kept taking my son back. That did cause me and my son to stop talking for a bit. I didn't want her to marry my son because of the way he treated her and carried himself. I love my son, but he was cheating on her and consistently breaking up with her for small things. I've tried to get my son help, but he refuses. So our relationship is strained. Once they got married, they weren't very close to me anymore. I've always invited them over and let them know my home is always open, but they declined any offer and stopped seeing my family until their recent visit. OP said her son was cheating on daughter-in-law and breaking up over small things. Seems like OP isn't the type of mom where her precious son is always right, which gives OP a ton of credibility with me. However, info, something feels like it's missing. And honestly, I bet if they arrived at your house and discovered a room set up for their baby that you haven't even met yet, they, or likely she, would have freaked out about it anyway, because it'd be a tad weird. How are you supposed to have bonded and have a relationship with a child you haven't been able to see? Daughter-in-law sounds like a nightmare. It sounds like what's missing is the daughter-in-law's psychiatric diagnosis. Why she got married to a man who was toxic and consistently breaking up with her for small things and cheated on her. It turns out the idiot is your son, who did something to his wife, and you not being close or liking him as much as your daughter is a direct consequence of his actions. You are not the idiot. You're closer to the grandchild you see regularly and have been allowed to have an active role in their life. It'd be different if you just hadn't bothered to see your son's child, but you've tried, and they've actively blocked you from doing so. I think daughter-in-law just found out that her actions have consequences and doesn't like it. Oh my God, that's absolutely a missing reason. Your daughter-in-law's probably keeping you at arm's length while expecting you to play nice because you're associated with her husband who cheated on her. That doesn't make her correct about how she's going about the favoritism discussion, but it does explain a lot here, especially if you don't agree with your son while she's still supporting him here. Daughter-in-law needs mental help if she's mad at OP, but fine with her husband. I have an above-ground pool in my backyard. It's almost as tall as the fence, so you can see it from my neighbor's deck and many windows. In short, it's not very private. I'm 8 months pregnant and getting pretty uncomfortable. Being in the water helps enormously, so I spend a good chunk of time, most evenings, just floating in my pool. I wear a bikini to do this because it's about 1,000,000 times easier than fighting with a one-piece. The result of this is that my neighbor gets an eyeful of large, pale, wear sunscreen kids, stretch mark covered bellies when they look toward my backyard. The other day, my neighbor stopped my husband when he was on his way out to ask if I could cover up more in the pool. Apparently, they're avoiding using their deck because seeing so much of my body is uncomfortable for them. My husband laughed as if they were joking, and they didn't press, but now they've started giving me dirty looks whenever they see me. Am I the idiot for regularly subjecting my neighbors to my pasty pregnant body? Definitely not the idiot. You're pregnant, and you're relaxing in your own pool, in your own yard, wearing a normal swimsuit. Screw them. If it's that big an issue for them, they can stay inside, build a taller fence, or just turn their chairs in a different direction. I assume they're not glued to the floor. Even if the chairs are nailed down, they can turn their heads and mind their own business. Nobody's forcing them to look in any particular direction. Making a pregnant woman uncomfortable for your convenience of being able to look at her and not see her pale belly, or whatever the actual reason is bonkers. Could you imagine your life being so boring that seeing your pregnant neighbor in a bikini is enough to ruin your summer? LOL, of course, not the idiot. I would laugh my butt off at these neighbors. I made a very private backyard so I could sunbathe topless by the pool and nobody could see me. That is, until my backyard neighbors got a trampoline for their kids. They wanted me to stop because, OMG, what if the little tykes saw breast? Oh, the horror. They threatened to call the cops. I said, go right ahead. You have a solution. Take down your trampoline. They're far more dangerous for kids than boobies. Never heard from them again, and they eventually moved. I guess because I was corrupting their babies. I, nearly adult male, am graduating high school in a little over a month. Our school for the past 3 years has done a digital book where there's a photo of the graduates, our names, and the names of our parents and siblings, if you have any. I submitted my form a couple of weeks ago. I listed my mom as my mother and my dad as my father. My mom died when I was 5, and my dad married my stepmom when I was 8. My dad wanted to change the mother's name to my stepmom's name when he got sent an advance copy, something all parents can sign up to get. I told him I didn't want it changed. My mom's name should be on there, not my stepmom's. He told me she'd be hurt if she didn't get named, but Mom does, since she's been with me throughout most of my life, and that it would be a small thing enlisting someone who's actually here to know. He said everyone knows I love my mom, but I can and should love my stepmom too, and show this kind of appreciation for all she's done for me. He said he didn't say anything about me not naming my step-siblings, but a line must be drawn about my stepmom. I told him he's not allowed to change it, and that's final. And if he does, I'll speak to the teacher in charge of putting the graduation book together. Dad told me I was being unreasonable and hurting someone for no reason at all. I know my stepmom would want to be in the book and will be hurt by this, but I will hate her being named my mother because to me she's not, and I don't want her to be my mother. She's my stepmom, and that's enough. Dad told me I was very close to being grounded for speaking to him the way I did and not considering other people's feelings. Am I the idiot? Of course you choose your mom over your stepmom for your school's graduation book. Your father seems to be extremely insecure and controlling. He has no right to force this onto you and punish you for talking back, and rightfully so. He's the idiot by far, not you. It's also hypocritical of the father to want to punish OP for not being considerate of other people's feelings while refusing to be considerate of OP's feelings. If your father wants to list his new wife in the digital version of his high school yearbook, that's his choice. He can't dictate to you who you list in your high school yearbook. If your stepmom is bothered by seeing you put your mom in your yearbook, that is your stepmom's problem. Spot on. It always bugs me when this is the argument. OP, talk to the teacher. Your dad is going to try to change it. He's threatening you with punishment for disagreeing and calling it disrespectful. Honoring your mother is right, but your school's traditions are whack. At this point, most American students have alternative family structures. So how does your school have no way to honor them? The school sucks. This is so unfair for anyone dealing with death, divorce, remarriage, guardianship situations, foster care, same-gender marriage, if you have two dads or two moms, who gets listed where, or adoption, or any other situation beyond married straight partners with X amount of kids. I'm certain that OP is far from the only student facing tensions regarding the stupid book. My 22 female, boyfriend 24, was supposed to come to mine around 8 p.m. so we could have dinner together. He showed up an hour later, and when he arrived, he was with a friend. I greeted his friend and asked my boyfriend to follow me in the kitchen. I asked him why he was late and what his friend was doing there. He said that on his way home, he ran into a friend. They went to get drinks, and when he saw the time, he invited him to eat with us. I asked why he didn't warn me before allowing him to come and eat with us. He answered he didn't think it'd bother me. When I told him that I didn't cook enough for 3, he said that it wasn't too late for me to cook more for his friend. I refused and said no, it's too late for me to cook more for your friend because it's already close to 9:30 p.m. and I have to wake up early tomorrow for work. He asked what his friend was supposed to eat then, and I replied he could either cook for his friend or give him my plate, and then went to bed after saying a quick goodbye to his friend. I heard the front door open and shut minutes later, and I fell asleep. When I woke up, I received a couple of texts from my boyfriend saying that my behavior yesterday was very rude, that his friend had felt unwelcome, and that my being mad at him wasn't an excuse for how I had treated him. I didn't reply, but now I feel guilty because I didn't want to make his friend feel unwelcome. Am I the idiot? Edit. It's my house, but my boyfriend's often there to eat or stay the night, or both sometimes. We actually were supposed to move in together, but something happened, and my mom had to live at mine for a while, so it didn't happen. Not the idiot. Bringing someone over unexpectedly at this hour isn't a minor inconvenience to someone else's home, too. He doesn't live there. Like, what the heck? The friend at least had the sense to read the room and leave. And while I don't think I would have accepted that invitation, this is still 1,000% on the boyfriend. What he did was rude and so inconsiderate in several ways. So now everyone's in a weird situation because he couldn't send a simple text and check in with OP at any point. I agree. This is a thoughtless boyfriend issue, not an issue with his friend or you. People who show up freaking 1 hour late get burnt dinner or nothing, especially if they bring unannounced company. He has a phone. He texted in the AM his disgruntled displeasure, so he could have used those clever fingers for a heads up. OP, the sweetie, ran into a friend, and we stopped into a pub for a drink to catch up. OP, dearest, 1,000 pardons. My friends and I got caught up and ran late. Can I bring them home with me? And after the text, You could have responded whether or not it was okay. Sorry, sweet cheeks. I only bought 2 steaks. There isn't enough to go around. Or, sure thing, Snookums. I made spaghetti and the water's boiling. It's a piece of cake to add an extra handful of pasta to the water. Bring 'em along. Except, that isn't an example of a thoughtful partner. It's just the example of someone who views their partner as an unpaid servant. Can we please raise the bar for the men from the 10th circle of the bad place? Ugh!